work with you. He's wanting to share. So would you give a warm, rousing applause to my dear beloved friend, the #1 true fighter in America today, Warren Ballantyne, Esquire, the attorney, Warren Ballantyne.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Dr. Daniels, I need to take you with me everywhere I go speak, brother. If you're going to introduce me like that, hell, I was impressed. For coming. I'm so honored to be here. This is actually my second conference. I truly adore Dr. Daniels and his wife, Mary. I can't even put into words how important their work is and what they mean to us as a community. Dr. Daniels, I thank you for not just being an example, but being an elder. And that's important because there's a difference between somebody that's an older person and an elder. And you are truly an elder. And I thank you. We have a wonderful panel. You're going to hear from all of them. We're going to take some questions from you guys. Of introducing the first. Now, let me tell you a little bit about this guy. I'm going to tell you Dr. George Fraser now for years. And every time that somebody sees me with him, they pull me to the side. Is George black? Because the way he talk, is he? I said, yeah, he's black. Okay. Now, he's the chairman of FraserNet, a company that he founded some 30 years ago. It's all about connecting and coming together. He's written 6 best-selling books. He's been featured on 7 national magazines. He goes around the country connecting people, networking people, so that everybody can have opportunity to work. But he also talks about the importance of the economic development and economics and understanding money in our community. Ladies and gentlemen, let me please introduce the one, somebody I love to call my friend, and I'm sorry my Chicago Cubs beat your Cleveland Indians, Dr. George Fraser.
Yes, I am black. Yes, I am. In case you were not entirely sure about culture and race, right? We come in all shapes and sizes and skin tones and hair textures. Lots of options out there, brothers and sisters. No need to stray. My goal for the next minutes or so is not to give you inspiration, brothers and sisters, but to give you a revelation. Not to give you any good ideas, but to give you some God ideas and to move you from the will to the willingness to do whatever it takes to get it done. Welcome, brothers and sisters. May God grant me the words to speak your thoughts. I'd say enough about Dr. Ron Daniels. I love this man. He has mentored me. He is a visionary leader. He is courageous. He is a risk taker, a decision maker. He whips us into leads the way. Model of the behavior that we expect from our people. Mama taught me many years ago, what you do speaks so loudly I can't hear what you say. Dr. Ron Daniels is a model of that saying, has been for all of the years that I've been knowing him. He's from the Youngstown, Ohio area. To serve you in this way. Serves the Power Networking Conference in this way. Let me begin with, it is a direct quote from Jesus Christ. And, you know, there are not that many direct quotes from Jesus Christ in the Bible. It's John. And Jesus said, of my own self can do nothing. Jesus. Jesus couldn't get it done on his own, by himself, in a vacuum. Therefore, what's up with you? Why would you think you could do anything significant, anything worth talking about on your own, by yourself, in a vacuum? It says to me, brothers and sisters, that we were born to network. God did not create you to isolate you, that he created you for community. We were born in a common bond of caring. Let me say that differently. Black people have everything they need to succeed. Jews have each other. East Indians have each other. Indians have each other. We are working on each other. 30 years ago, I started a company after 20 years in the public and private sector in leadership positions called Fraser. And we are what? A principle-centered, African-centered, global leadership network, economic development through education, training, and empowerment for Black people. We have two simple goals. We and envisioned those goals 30 years ago. To help Black people build wealth that can be transferred intergenerationally. We're not poor, brothers and sisters, we're just broke. Our money goes in one direction from us, and we're some of America's most conspicuous consumers. We must fix this in the 21st century. Goal is a relatively simple goal in saying it, is to achieve it. And that is to help Black people become the #1 employer of Black people by the end of the 21st century. Jews are the #1 employer of Jews. Asians are the #1 employer of Asians. East Indians are the #1 employer of East Indians. We too must become the #1 employer of our own people. Why? We must create work and jobs for our people, because that is the only way to raise up the poor. We are responsible for that. Differently. I said it last night at the town hall meeting. This will not be saving Black people. Let me say that differently. White folks are not even thinking about Black people. Do you know who white folks are thinking about? They're thinking about white folks. They're thinking about their children, their communities, their husbands, their wives, their neighborhoods, and their educational system. First, supposed to be thinking about. A friend who said to me, Dr. Daniels, not long ago, he said, George, I know what Black people's problem is. Oh, really, Bob? Well, what is Black people's problem? All your time thinking about us, and we don't spend any of our time thinking about you. Therefore, if you ain't thinking about you, and we damn sure ain't thinking about you, who's thinking about you? I had to do a Holy Ghost dance when he said, I had no response. Even us but us. I'm writing in the book, I crafted a couple of words. African Americans are at a pivotal point in history, brothers and sisters. The world is not waiting for us to wake up to our power. African Americans to take a seat at the table, not only in America, but in the global economy. Unfortunately, we continue to place our power in the hands of those who have historically oppressed us, and even worse, we continue to oppress each other. This is the meaning of internalized oppression, to continue to fall into the cultural hypnosis of thinking that white America controls our lives is a true abdication of our personal power. The reality is that each and every day is an opportunity to create a new and powerful story in our culture, and unless we find a way to write this new story, to claim our power, there will be devastating implications for our community and for the world. In other words, there is no one to save us The fantastic news, brothers and sisters, is that people of African descent, we possess an enormous untapped creativity and potential as individuals and as a collective network. And once we fully tap into what makes us tick, performance in our culture, will we assume our rightful place is on us. America is in a deep financial crisis, brothers and sisters, and most of us are asleep. And too many of us are comfortable. And this earnestly and profoundly, the statistics are harrowing and egregious with doomsday warnings and ripple effects for our children and our children's children. Think about these statistics. The most recent came out August 16th, August of this year. Policy study, the most egregious statistic that I've heard in a long, long time from the end of the study. If nothing changes in the African American community, it will take 228 years, if ever, to close the widening gap between black folk and white folk in this country. 228 years. It will take Hispanics, according to the study, 89 years at the time. People for 25 years, it's going to take us 100 years. I've been 128 years wrong. 28 years, that's the amount of time it took us to free ourselves. On the front page of USA Today last year, I hope you saw it. Thank God for us. It was below the fold. Baby boomers and their money. The article said. American baby boomers will be the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will be worse off. So in the 400-year history of our people in this country, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be. Our ancestors and forefathers must be rolling over in their graves, and black people need their ass kicked. Me out of that egregious statistic. I will not participate. That will not be my legacy. For my children, I have 2 boys, and any children and the parents of children that I can infect, affect, and effect. Initiative at egregious concern. Created a group of brothers and sisters around the country who have been committed to economic development, financial literacy, and wealth creation in the African American community for at least 10 years or more. The $1 million baby campaign. What am I saying? I'm saying, as I said last in the town hall, the least we can do is save our children. The least we can do is save our children. Proverbs 13:22, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So within the next 20 years, we have aggregated a force of people that understand the power and the effectiveness of proper placement of insurance, the ability to leave children millions of dollars for pennies on a dollar, and we are going to make sure that 1 million of our children within the next 20 years, by the time they get our age, are multimillionaires. When we do this, and we will do this, and we have a great start, and we launched it at the Power Networking Conference this year, that our generation will be responsible for the $1 trillion of intergenerational transfer of wealth to succeeding generations. That is the largest amount of wealth ever transferred by our people to a succeeding generation. You join us. This initiative. Why must we focus on wealth? Why is everything that I do, the conferences that we put on, the work that I've done, the books that I write are about wealth? Why is wealth important? I said last night, and I'm going to repeat it for those who were not there. Important, not so that we can buy more stuff. We don't need any more stuff. Only culture in the history of humankind that put political empowerment before economic empowerment. Last year, we elected nearly 10,000 black public officials, and we're still at the bottom of the educational and economic heap. What does that mean? It means that you cannot do it by politics alone. How dare we put that kind of pressure on our political leadership? But again, we're no fools. We were born at night, but not last night. We didn't come down here with the last drop of rain. And we do understand that we're all impacted by public policy, and we're all impacted by the politics of inclusion. And politics is important on the four-legged stool of comfort. But we cannot do it by politics alone. So now I want you to hear me, and I want you to hear me good. I want you to remember what I'm about to say to you. Wealth will determine where you live. It will determine where your children go to school. Go to school will determine the quality of your children's higher education. And the quality of your children's higher education will determine their lifelong earnings. And your children's lifelong earnings will determine where your grandchildren live. Children live will determine the quality of your grandchildren's higher education. And the quality of your grandchildren's higher, you see the cycle of poverty here? Wealth is important. Market-based economy in a democratic capitalistic society, the only color that really matters is green. I'm just saying that's what it is. So until our pile of green is as big and as high and as deep and as wide and as leveraged group's pile of green, we will never be considered an equal at the table of democratic capitalism. Important. Because when we finish pontificating ad nauseum about our issues, somebody's got to write a check. Our Jewish brothers and sisters can write a check. Our Asian brothers and sisters can write a check. Brothers and sisters can write a check. We can't write a check. We find it difficult in many cases even to convene without somebody else writing the check. And when you're writing the check for permission for you to convene, the golden rule applies. The gold rule. Wealth important because the tax system was set up for the landowner and the business owner. Why? Because landowners and business owners wrote the tax laws. Landowners, we own the fewest number of homes per capita of any cultural group in this country. Mayflower. Business owners, and we own the fewest number of businesses per capita of any cultural group in this country. And again, we came over here on the Mayflower. You cannot fully exploit the American tax system. Trump or Mitt Romney did not want you to see their tax returns, maybe not because they did anything illegal, it's because they fully exploited the American tax system. They pay less taxes on a percentage basis than you do. Owners and business owners, and they understand that the only thing that matters in this country is equity and ownership. Equity and ownership. Stop resenting rich and successful people, even when we don't mean to, because you cannot attract what you resent. The idea that the Black community can exercise effective power, political or otherwise, without simultaneously exercising economic power is a fantasy. That capitalism without capital is just ism. And right now we have the isms. Focus and have an economic agenda going forward. This will require leadership. Not where we are supposed to be. Stinks. Look to the head. Dr. King would have come back here 50 years after his death, he would pimp slap Black people. He would say to Black people, is this what I took a bullet for? Is that what you tolerate? You will only change when you get angry, and we ain't angry enough. Now, maybe God playing his trump card may make us angry. Maybe. Maybe. Malcolm X recorded on video 50 years ago the reasons why he supported Barry Goldwater over Lyndon Johnson. And he said, not because I like Barry Goldwater, is that Barry Goldwater is an unrepentant racist. And perhaps if he's elected president of the United States, that would wake Black people up. Well, it didn't. Maybe Trump will wake us up. Will not change when they see the light. People will change when they feel the heat. So I ask you, do you feel the heat? I hope you feel the heat. Jackie Mayfield, we talked about this earlier. Then Reverend Dennis Dillon, we talked about this earlier. I hope you feeling some heat, because you ain't going to change. So you're not going to change those comfortable shoes until your feet hurt. Only then will we change. We need leadership. The great management consultant Peter Drucker said it best. Things happen naturally in organizations and communities. Friction, confusion, and underperformance. Everything else requires leadership. So I've redefined leadership for Black people for the 21st century. You don't have to accept it. My definition of leadership is to be awake and alert and to be dissatisfied at all times. Yes, we have come a long way, but we have much further to go. Therefore, I am not happy, but I am motivated by a positive anger towards positive change. Growth isn't about pressing the accelerator, brothers and sisters. It's about opportunities to move in specific directions. That's what is talking about. The job of leadership is to figure out where the world is going and to make sure your people get there. Figured out where the world is going. We have figured out where the world is going. Our job as leaders is to make sure that you get there come hell or high water. And we've been talking about this for 3 days, a new consciousness, a new mindset, because our economic condition with the American economy has everything to do with our mindset. Our mindset. 60 Minutes, they addressed this about Black people. Conclusion of that piece, I hope you saw it. Black athletes and entertainers who earn $50 to $100 million in their career, once they retire, they are broke or bankrupt. Money. They had money. Mike Tyson went through $400 million in 15 years. That's mindset. We have a funky mindset. Man up and woman up. It's our mindset. This is easy to say, difficult to do. This will take some therapy. Because all that a person achieves and all that they fail to achieve is the result of their thoughts, and sooner or later you will act out what you really think, and at the end of the day, in our consciousness, our own life. A couple of new consciousness and then I'm finished. This is what I believe that our people need to begin to think. Now, some of this is a bit controversial. It will be new. I believe that Black people need a narrower cultural vision. On deck, circle the wagons, and we need to focus on making Black people great first. Not New York, not Cleveland, not America, but us first. And when we become great, when we maximize our full human potential, we're God's first people. DNA, the dominant gene, our full human potential, only then will America become great. Facilitates narrowing the cultural vision and focusing on making us great first. This is controversial. We must socially isolate and ostracize those Black people of means that do not give back to their own people. Now, if you are a Jew of means, give back to Jewish issues, Jewish organizations, and Jewish causes, you're out. You're socially ostracized and isolated. You're out. Don't even come to the synagogue. Someone like couple of billion from Apple, 40 million to USC, one of the 5th richest endowed universities in America. He didn't go to USC and didn't give a penny to a historically black college. But if Dr. Dre were to show up here, you wouldn't be able to get into this hotel. If he was to show up on at a church, he would sit up on the stage near the pulpit. Music, we still love on him. Have many of our people who are in billionaire status to give back anything to their own people and own community is wrong. So there must be a system of social isolation and ostracization. I know this is tough because we're loving people, but it has to happen. Number 3. This is a tough one. We must coalesce around our vision and not just our pain. Yeah. When someone puts a bullet in one of our children's head, yes, we ought to saber rattle, we ought to march, ought to be Black Lives Matter by the thousands, absolutely. But what about recycling back dollars? Let's buy black. What about economic development? There's no marches, no saber rattling. We will not gather around boycotting any damn body. We must coalesce around our vision and not just our pain. Number 4, we must connect the dots and leverage our collective resources and intellectual capital. I said it earlier, we have every single thing we need to succeed. $2 trillion annual economy. If we were a nation, it'd be the 16th richest nation in the entire world, but our money goes in one direction, away from us, because most conspicuous consumers. We must move from a consumption class to a merchant class. Jews are the merchant class. We are the consumption class. It'll take 100 years to die. It ain't going to happen for them. Dots. And finally, we must think entrepreneurially. Beginning, we must create work and jobs for our people. All of the major wealth. You look at the Forbes billionaire list are from what? Entrepreneurs. Poo-poo neighborhood in Cleveland, Ohio. On a cul-de-sac. Well, in Brooklyn, we used to call it a dead end. But it's a cul-de-sac where I live. There's 60 homes on a cul-de-sac. Deep 6 and 7 figures. On my block, everybody on my cul-de-sac, you cannot have a job where I live. Do you understand what I'm saying? Of the 4 million new millionaires minted in the last year or so, 75% of them were entrepreneurs. 75% of them were entrepreneurs. We have work to do. No one is going to do this work for us. But we know that God, perfect people. We're not a perfect people. Mistakes. James Baldwin said it best. James Baldwin said, we are born, we suffer, and then we die. We are born, we suffer, and then we die. That no one will be without suffering. That our life will be determined by how we manage our suffering. That will determine the meaning of the dash between the year you were born and the year you die. How you manage your suffering. Jesus, the Son of God, was crucified. There will be no exceptions to the rule. We will all suffer. How we think about it. My favorite philosopher, Dr. John Henrik Clarke, said it best. He said, what a people do for themselves depends upon what they think about themselves. Whew. Important to believe and to think that we are an awesome and beautiful people. It is important to think that if we were once great, that we will be great again. It is important to think that God can use you still. that you may have screwed up some things, that you've not done 100% of things right, that you've had some picadillos in your life. It's important that you understand that God can still use you in spite of your flaws, in spite of our mistakes. And the next time you feel that God can't use you, some mistakes, but that Noah was a drunk. Abraham was too old. Jacob was a liar. Isaac was a daydreamer. Leah was ugly. Joseph was abused. Moses had a stuttering problem. Gideon was afraid. Samson had long hair and was a womanizer. Rahab was a prostitute. Jeremiah and Timothy was what? Too young. David had an affair and was a murderer. Elijah was suicidal. Isaiah preached naked. Jonah ran from God. Naomi was a widow. Job went bankrupt. John the Baptist ate bugs. Peter denied Christ. The disciples fell asleep while praying. Martha worried about everything. The Samaritan woman was divorced more than once. Zacchaeus was too small. Paul was too religious. Timothy had an ulcer, and Lazarus was dead. God can use you. It's not too late. We can do this. I want you to take the hand of the person on the left and the person on the right. I close with a very short prayer. Networking conference next July 5th through the 8th. I have flyers if you want to know more about it. Nataki, if you will do me a favor at the end of all of this, make sure that everybody gets a flyer. I apologize to you in advance that I have to roll up out of here. I have a 3:30 flight to give an important speech in Los Angeles tomorrow morning, but I'm going to stay for a bit. With the prayer that we closed every Power Networking conference with. Always remember those who have gone before us, inspired by their vision and their valor. Continually remind us that service, success, that people, possessions, that principle is more important than power. To be shaped and molded by honesty, excellence, and commitment. And our children's children carry forth with pride the nobility of the histories that are represented here and the various traditions that are represented in this room. To the creator of all of us, we may refer to that creator. We dedicate our lives to make our world better. Can I get an ashe? Ashe. Amen. Ashe. God bless you and thank you very much.
Make one thing clear before we keep this moving. I told y'all he was black, didn't I? Man, give this man another round of applause. That was fantastic. You know, before we move on, I want to just touch on one thing that George talked about. He talked about where you live decides your education, where your kids' education and everything else. A lot of us are not in a financial position to be in better places, even though we want to be in better places. Let me just kind of give you something to think about when you leave here today. On my show, I talk about capitalism in this country. And the definition of capitalism is simply this. You got to have a poor class. You got to have a working middle class. That's what capitalism is. I've been in this country for black and brown people and even poor white people. Capitalism has been instituted into the public school system. You have underperforming kids, you have average kids, and you have the kids that's taking the advanced placement classes. Well, your child is designated for what they're going to be in life and in school. So if your child is an underperforming student, they're designating him to be or her to be in this underclass, and this is where you get the pipeline to the present. This is why you have present stocks soaring through the roof on the election of Donald Trump, because they see what's going to happen with these underperforming kids and where they're going to likely end up. you live in a neighborhood where the school isn't great, even if you live in an area where the educational system may be a struggle, if you are proactive in that school, because see, these teachers are arbitrarily designating your kids. I can speak on this firsthand because I was one of those kids. When I got into kindergarten, they put me in the underperforming track till we took tests. I tested out as an 8th grader at 4.5 years old. They got me tested. I had 150 IQ in 3rd grade. At that point, they took me out the school I was in. I grew up in the projects of Chicago, took me out the projects and bussed me across the city. Chicago. Where you live, that's where you go to school. But if you got a talent, or ball playing or drama, they will move you out that bad area and put you with them. Even if you live in these bad areas, be proactive, be at the school. My mother was not educated, but my mother had enough sense to realize, she said, man, my son, it's something different about him. Find out what's going on. So be proactive. If you're proactive, you can change what designation your child may have and give them a shot. Because if you don't, they're going to push them in one direction. I just wanted to touch on that because I know a lot of us do better. We just can't. Also, I want to recognize the honorary chairman, Mr. Blackonomics himself from Cincinnati. Can we give him a round of applause? Is he in the building? Can you stand up, Jim? Oh, he had a health issue. Okay, all right. Thank you, Taki. All right, now I want to, we're introducing the panel now, right? All right, we're going to introduce this wonderful, wonderful panel who's going to give us all this knowledge. First, I want to start off with Jonathan Weaver. If you all don't know Reverend Weaver, he's the president of the Collective Empowerment Group out of Baltimore, Maryland. He has a great, great model. I look forward to him explaining what he has to do. I look so forward to that. Also, let me see, who do we have sitting next to him? We have Reverend, I can't see, Deborah Stapleton. She's in for Buster Soares, who I absolutely love. Buster, I love what he's doing at his church, especially getting people out of debt. If you're not part of D-Free, you need to be a part of D-Free. So I look forward to her talking about that. Absolutely. Tell Buster I'm mad that he didn't come because I need to talk to him. I love that brother. Reverend Dennis Dillon, Not My Dollar campaign. Now this brother right here, y'all know this brother right here. Right? Me and him gonna sit down and we're gonna figure out how we can get some contracting going over in Africa before we leave up out of here to try to make some change over there as well. Now, I just met this sister, but I'm so excited to hear what she has to say, especially coming out of my second home city of Atlanta, Chinray TK Norman. She's got the Us Lifting Us Economic Cooperative. I want to talk about that, want to learn about that. I'm excited about that. Give her a round of applause. Jackie Mayfield. Now, for everybody who doesn't know Jackie, he's the founder and president of Compro Tax out of Beaumont, Texas. Look forward to learning about that because we need to know those issues. Lastly, look, let me just tell y'all, kind of just like on point with everything, making sure everybody on point. So I want to give you praise for that, sister, because you making sure we all right. Miss Nataki, let me make sure I'm saying it right. All right, I got you. And you know, that's Let's Buy Black 365. Loved her campaign. I think that's something that we all should be talking about. We all should be doing, as George referenced in his speech. So we look forward to hearing from everybody on the panel. So I guess we're going to start with the panel right now. And we'll start with Reverend Weaver. Introduce yourself again if you like to. Tell people what you're doing. And let's learn about what you got going on.
Let me just say, first of all, Brother Warren, and to everyone, when we reference Jim Klingman, Jim is ill, yes, but more specifically, he has Lou Gehrig's disease. Oh, wow. Yeah, which is a deterioration of the nervous system, and he has been challenged by that for about the last 2 years now. Spoke with him as recently as last night. Keep him in your prayers. Jim is a strong warrior, and he has been an apostle for economic empowerment for Black people for a mighty, mighty long time. And I would encourage you even to get his most recent book, Black Dollars Matter. And so he's a strong brother and a tremendous friend. of this whole economic empowerment movement. Thank you so much, Dr. Daniels, again, for inviting me to be here. 24 years ago, shortly after I had arrived at Greater Mount Nebo African Methodist Episcopal Church there in Maryland to become the pastor, I assumed a $250,000 debt, a mortgage on the church. We paid it off in 4 years. And after we paid it off in 4 years, we moved to a different facility because we had outgrown the facility. Something very strange happened, which got to the point of creating what we now call as the Collective Empowerment Group. And that was when we got to the new facility and we needed to retrofit that building, I went back to the same financial institution seeking a $50,000 loan. From the loan officer was, we'll consider it. Now, we had been with this financial institution for 25 years, in addition to paying off a $250,000 loan in 4 years. So the person went on to say that what you will need to do is to collateralize the building that you now own free and clear. You'll have to get an appraisal of the building, and 3 of your trustees will guarantee the loan. And at that point, Brother Fraser, what I did was I got angry, but I did not sin. And what I did was that I called back to the bank and I wanted to get the name of the president and an address for the president. I sat down and I composed a letter, and in the letter I detailed the length of our relationship. And at the end of the letter, and I said, in light of the response from your bank on this coming Sunday, I'm afraid that 700 members of our church will now be disappointed in your response. I mailed the letter on a Tuesday. On Friday of the same week, got a phone call indicating that I needed to call the executive vice president of the bank back. I'll tell you who it was. It was Bank of America. With that in mind, the executive vice president said, Reverend Weaver, I'm in receipt of your letter that you sent to our president, and I just wanted to let you know that your loan has been approved. And I said, well, can you tell me what she said, oh, we'll fax the documents to you. And she said, the loan will go into effect immediately. Now, what's my point? I read the letter, but I don't think he really took great interest until he saw 700 members. Numbers count. As a result of that, I did not have to go the route of that Sunday asking people that had accounts at Bank of America to please stand. But if I had had to do that, I would have said to everybody, take your money out and put it into another financial institution. Because if your church is going to be treated this way, how do you think they're going to treat you? Well, fast forwarding, I talked to a lot of our colleagues in the pastoral ranks, only to learn that many of them had similar kinds of experiences, and not just with Bank of America. And so with that in mind, we created, through the power of God, the Collective Banking Group, because we realized that we could do so much more together than we could ever do individually. And as a result of that, we started with 21 churches and 25,000 people collectively with the Collective Banking Group. And what we did was that we not only changed the paradigm, but we created a new paradigm. So that when it came to relating with banks, we interviewed the banks rather than the banks interviewing us. I am so delighted to share with you that we also created some criteria by which banks could partner with us. One of the items had to be that any bank that partnered with us had to have one of our ranks sit on their board of directors. Number 2, every 3 months, we would sit down with the senior officials from the bank and learn how many loans had been granted to people within our community for mortgages, for auto loans, and for the churches to be able to build senior housing. And they agreed to do that. When I say they, those 4 institutions that were finally partnering with us. And let me just say that after 25 years now, those banks that partner with us out to us over $150 million. And that money has gone to black folks to be able to secure mortgages, for businesses to be expanded, and for the churches to be able to create daycares and senior housing. And I'm pleased to say that one of those criteria about having somebody from our ranks sit on their board of directors, the one bank that decided to agree with us and partner with us ever since 1995, Industrial Bank, the only black bank in the Washington metropolitan area. I'm pleased to tell you, not because it's me, but because they saw the importance of economic empowerment for Black people. 10 years ago, I joined their board of directors, and last April, I became chairman of the board. Now, I mention that again because of the importance, as already articulated, about recycling those dollars within our own community. And so within the Collective Empowerment Group, we have 150 churches in the Washington metropolitan area, totaling about 200,000 persons being a part of those churches. They now know to direct their dollars towards deposits into Industrial Bank. We also have created strategic partners so that we've got Black businesses that are connected, those members of those churches. So for example, we've got a carpeting company, Townhouse Carpeting, so that if a church needs to have carpeting put into the church, they know to go to that Black business called Townhouse Carpeting. Likewise for the members of the church. So let me just wrap up by saying we've started that chapter there in the Prince George's County, Maryland area. We also have chapters now in Miami, Florida, Tampa, St. Pete, Cincinnati, Ohio, the home of Jim Klingman. And I just came back from the Bahamas on yesterday, where they're looking to create a chapter there so we would have the first international chapter outside of the United States of America. Anybody that may be interested in more information, I've got some cards. We'd love to have you to become a part of the Collective Empowerment Group. Thank you very much.
Now, Reverend Weaver, I got to tell you, Industrial Bank, it was one of the banks. I went on a campaign in 2010. I got Black people to put $1 million across the country. Industrial was one of those banks. In fact, they put $1 million in one Black bank, which was Mechanics and Farmers, but we also worked with Industrial, Seaway, and other Black banks across the country. What my question would be, as doing it, see, I didn't know you were the chairman, man. I would have been talking you up before we even got up here. Because see, I would have been asking this question to me. What I found is, will the banks be willing to do bridge loans? And for people who don't know what that is, that may be where you qualify for maybe 80% of the 100% loan that you need. Would they be willing to use the money that's coming in from the church to bridge the gap in that loan to let people be able to pay for their kids to go to school, mortgages, and other things like that?
I will happily take that back to the president of the bank. And I should mention that Industrial Bank got started back in the 1930s because Black folks were denied access to other financial institutions. And so they have been a strong partner with the Black church and with Black folks in general. I'll clearly take that back. I will say that even Industrial Bank is willing to take a look at creating chapters, and not chapters, but branches in other locales where there are no Black banks right now. When I was in Tampa and the pastors, they were talking about that other financial institutions have really just treated them with a cold shoulder and wanted to know whether or not Industrial Bank would be interested in doing so. And I said, yes, they would. So to your point, Warren, I'll certainly take that back.
Now, I need you to do one other thing for
Sure.
me now. For everybody who's out here, I just did a deal for a national TV show. It'll be showing here in New York on Channel 9. I think that's WWOR. It'll be showing here in New York, but it's across the country. And so what I would like to do with you guys to come on to the television show to talk about this, to try to get this information out to other people who look like us, who can get loans to get their kids into school and everything else.
Warren, just to add to that, about 25 years ago, there were approximately 88 Black banks in America. There are now less than 25. Less than 25. But yet, as we talk about accumulation of wealth, not money, but wealth, think about the fact that a bank like Industrial Bank has been able to provide mortgages for Black folk for nearly 82 years. And indeed, that becomes the genesis for creating wealth and creating businesses. Because if you've got a house and you've got equity in it, that may be the start for you to be able to get that business going. And so that's what Industrial Bank can facilitate and help people to do.
Well, my show is your show. Whenever you want to come on, because to me, this is about us. It's not about me. So if it's something that's going to empower us, I don't care who you are. You can come and talk. Always been like that. So I look forward to talking to you after this panel. Stapleton, she's here again. She's coming for Buster Soaries and from First Baptist Church in Somerset, New Jersey.
Good morning. Good morning. I know most of you may be disappointed that Reverend here, but I'll try to stand in his stead. He started D-Free in 2005, and it is a transformational program designed to bring us out of debt. One of the things that he looked at was how we as African Americans particularly are just consumers. George Fraser talked about this in terms of just being consumers and not being those who are necessarily about trying to change that. And so one of the things he said was that debt is really the new form of slavery. And when we look at it, it is a form of slavery. And I have to say that it transformed my life when I got involved, because it's not just a program that says, but it is a teaching program, and it is based on, yes, it's based on Christian principles, but at the same time, they are principles that, if we look at it, are just transformational, because it's not just about studying the word of Christ, but it's also about looking at oneself and saying, if in fact, these are our temples of the Lord, and regardless of how you call the Lord, that it is in fact that we need to be about the business of not just financial freedom, but also in terms of what we manage to just bring on and hold on to, that we need to give up some stuff. And so it is giving up of things that is part of the transformation. So he does it, the D-Free program is part of, you can go on mydfree.com or .org rather, and be involved. So it is based in, he goes around to churches, we go around to churches and talk about D-Free. So it is about trying to change people's mindset. Because if we don't change the mindset, we're not going to change the behavior. And so while we hold on to credit cards and we hold on to debit cards and we hold on to those kinds of things, and we just buy, but we don't think about make, or save. And we have to be about the business of saving. And how we change, how we do anything in terms of transformation is to say that we are going to do it and then be about the business of doing it. So my D-Free, or the whole D-Free campaign, is to change one's mindset and to transform. The other thing is that there is a teaching program. So it's not about just someone coming into a church, but it's also about individuals learning how to go about the business of building wealth. So the first thing is to understand the concept. What is it that you're holding on to? What is it that you're trying to consume? What is it that you're trying to take on? So there are steps in each process. It's like a 12-step program. And I know we have the AA, the Alcohol Anonymous 12-step program. So if you were related to that, then that's something that can happen. Many of our seniors, particularly our seniors, don't have insurance. Many of us sitting in this room may not even have insurance. And yet, we know that, and we have to plan for that. We have to plan for retirement. We have to plan as part of our lives. And what D-Free does is it eliminates the debt so that you can put aside money and build wealth for future generations, but also to plan your own life. Have it manufactured in some ways. It's a hard word to use, but so that somebody else is in control of you. Debt, when we say it's a form of slavery, debt controls us. Don't do something about it. Members of our church have done tremendous things, and I can witness to that. Members of the church have changed from, one more sentence. Members of the church have changed from where they are to where they are going, just in terms of ending debt. So I would just say to you to go on the website, dfree.org, and also be involved in the $1 billion campaign. MYD, just the letter D, free, FREE, dot, and that's the little period, org, O-R-G, mydfree.org. And be involved, join with us because it is a transformational program.
I highly recommend that you check out this website. I had the privilege of Buster on cruise for 2 years in a row, and Buster gave me an idea when we was on the cruise. He was telling me about D-Free, but a story that he told me kind of thought process about us as a collective. He told the story of how I believe it was some Korean gentlemen. I don't know if they were Korean or Chinese, but it was a group of 15 of them. Every month was put $1,000 together. And every month somebody would walk out of there with $15,000 every month. And to the point where they start buying up a whole block in New Jersey, the block. And so when Buster told me this story, because he was telling me how he was working to get the congregation out of debt, I started thinking about, man, if we started practicing collective economics, imagine what we could do. Well, I'm one of these people that when I start talking, I don't just talk, I start planning. What I did was, with my audience, even today, I told people, look, I'm gonna create a corporation. Remember the corporation. Everybody put up $1,000. We're gonna go into Flint, Michigan and buy up all the damn land before they come in there and get it, because you can't remake the land. And they're gonna put $1 billion of infrastructure in there for water. And that land selling for $1,000 a parcel. 30 parcels of land.
And it is about collective economics. It really is. And that's one of the principles of Kwanzaa that we talk about. And we just need to be about that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Totally agree. All right, we're gonna go to our next. We're gonna wait for Reverend Dillon because he's gonna take us home when we get out of here. I'm gonna remind the panelists we got 5 minutes. I'm gonna come back, ask you some questions. I know everybody want to get it all in there. I know. So let's go to Chinure Norman. Go ahead, tell us what you're doing in Atlanta, sister.
Thank you. Greetings, family. Again, I am Shanyeri Norman, and I represent Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative. And first of all, let me just say thank you to Ron Daniels and the Institute of the Black World for having us being represented here. I'm new to these conferences and many of the faces that I see here, so I just want to take a brief moment to let you know where this message is coming from. One of the things that I cherish the most about being in this space and time as a conscious, responsible adult is being able to experience the level of sensitivity regarding where we are as a people and all the issues that we face. However, of course, Us Lifting Us is championing the economic part of these issues. The tension, of course, is so very high, and at this point, the veil has been completely lifted. All understand the just destructive mindset and the intention and the promoters capitalism, of predatory corporate capitalism. We understand that. It's clear as the eyes that stare back at you every morning in the mirror. There is no denying where we are as a people in this system, in this race for wealth. And I believe it was Dr. Claude Anderson who said that we are on our way to becoming a permanent underclass, a way out of it. So I don't negate the fact that we have to continue to support Black businesses, and as we leave the plantation, so to speak, in droves and create our own businesses, work. But what has been missing from these conversations most time is the cooperative economics. And so with Us Lifting Us, we do operate as a cooperative using the one member, one vote with elected leadership model. We're formed as an LLC, which means that we can have members all over the world, members of Black African descent that understand that this is something that we need to be talking about. And when I say that, join together. We now have members in 6 or 7 different countries. And we join together, pool our resources. Membership is only $50, annually $50. And what you do is you pledge to become an investor by purchasing at least 1 unit. Purchased several units, some are on their way, you know, putting in a little bit every month. But what we're doing is we're opening businesses together that we own and that we control and that we're able to employ our people. I'm sure everyone knows I'm an entrepreneur and we have several entrepreneurs in the room. It's not easy to run your own business. We have to have systems and we have to have networks that allow us to do that. But everybody is not going to own their own businesses. Fraser said, we need to be the #1 employer of our people. And so that is what the co-op is designed to do. So I ask you just to imagine being co-owner of a multinational corporation that's able at a point to compete with other larger enterprises in North America, in Asia, and in Europe. And that enterprise, that large scale cooperatively owned or group owned enterprise that is open to you, that enterprise works in conjunction with other organizations and movements that are focused on the upliftment of our people, like the Institute of the Black World, like Compro Tax, like Less by Black 365, and all of the other movements that we have. Imagine that. We can always point to the Jewish community, the Asian community, and other groups that understand that they have to have a sub-economy or secondary economy in order to fulfill their passions, their dreams, their needs for their people. Mainstream economy. Culture has seriously been damaged. And so what we've done is we've engineered economics, like I said, the structure of a cooperative, LLC as a business formation, which allows us to have membership everywhere. There are no borders when it comes to us lifting us. And also the principle of Ujamaa, centered economics. We can all have our own business again, but we need to do something collective to support all that we want to do. And just think about how our children look at us. I'm going to take this a little bit personal, just so you understand where I'm coming from. And then we'll talk more on tomorrow when it's time to get down to business, when we really vibe with one another and understand what we need to put in the pot. Maybe 24 years old when I decided, because I was born angry. I was born angry, positively angry. And I decided when I was about 24 or 25 that I wasn't looking to bring children in this world. And you gotta know that your sisters and brothers, your daughters, nephews, your grandchildren are looking around and wondering, why do I want to birth a child into this? Until I got involved with us lifting us, that I said, wow. I'm really part of something that I can see. I have the vision. We share the vision to see into the future. And I know that my nieces and my nephews look up to what we're doing. They get involved. They, make flyers. They come to our talks. They understand cooperative economics. They understand loss of opportunity when we don't get together. And so now I'm at a point myself to come here and share with you all the essence of us lifting us, and hopefully we can connect tomorrow. I do have this information for us. Take this home. We do have the ULU 10-point appeal and plan on the back of this document. Very, very important. I don't care if you fold it up a million times, just carry it with you. I'm only going to read the first point and then I'm going to let it go because I know we're pressed for time. 1, as Black people, we take full for the economic destiny of our communities and nations. Nobody is going to lift us but us. As a matter of fact, nobody should lift us but us. Thank you.
Now, before we move on, because I was up here checking up the website while you was talking.
Okay, great.
So give us the website.
The website is www.usliftingus.com.
usliftingus.com. And then the one piece that I want you to kind of like highlight before we move on to the next panelist is the cooperative part.
Sure.
And with the cooperative part, when people buy into this, they're actually buying into a business. Is that what they're buying into?
What you're buying into, when we talk about the money, the actual money, what we're buying into is, so Us Lifting Us as the co-op, we who are in Us Lifting Us, we are the main co-op. It's us gelling together, but our money goes toward opening businesses, again, that we own and control together. So right now in Atlanta, what we're doing, we've partnered with T. Dallas Smith, which is the, I guess, largest Black-owned firm in the nation. We partnered with them. They have a couple of different locations, which is really good for our growth. But we're now looking for our first coffee shop and networking lounge in Atlanta. The members decided last year, very briefly, the members decided last year that instead of reaching our $2 to $3 million goal, they said, let's do something now. So we take the money that we have right now and we're opening up the coffee shop and networking lounge. Nataki is a member. There are a couple of other members in the room. Jim Klingman and the 1 million conscious and conscientious Black voters and supporters. We are the economic leg of that organization, actually. So those of you who are members of that organization, you are aware of us as well. But it's not just about a coffee shop and networking lounge for the sense of social gathering, which is very important for our people, but it's also about the import-export of the coffees on the continent. That's the second largest traded commodity in the world is coffee, and it comes from our homeland. So we're going to be showcasing that in Atlanta and as we continue to build out.
My invite to come speak to that.
Absolutely.
I like that. All right, now we're going to hear from the great man. He's the president and founder of Cooperative, Jackie Mayfield. Good morning, brother Jackie.
Thank you, brother Valentine. I to also give a shout out to Ron Daniels, Dr. Ron Daniels, for his vision and all of his team, and for this conference, because I know that they are committed to economic empowerment and the love of our people, which I am as well. This is all for 5 minutes. Most of my time tomorrow explaining more detail of what I'm going to talk about. But right now, Cooperative is 34 years old, and it was founded by myself and others that we've been together now between the insurance business and the tax business for almost 40 years, and our marriages don't last that long. We're not monolithic in our views, but yet because we agree sense of the mission, that our differences does not cause us to fall out. Now, so I've had a job in my life. I've always been self-employed, and I understand the need for therapy with us more now than ever before. Dr. Patricia Newton is here. She's been in our center and brought a tremendous sense of medicine to us, and we're looking forward to some more. But I recognized early on businesses, but too often we go into business without a structure, without really understanding what business is all about. To buy from Black folk, again, we need to do that, but we need more businesses. And the husband tried the e-empowerment deal in Chicago and could not find enough to sustain it. And we have a lot of people committed, but Cooperative was founded on the idea teaching entrepreneurship by utilizing tax preparation and bookkeeping so that when you come into our company, you're not just learning to do taxes and serve the people at a high level. You're also learning entrepreneurship. And we also made it where it's affordable. Into our franchise under $2,000, unheard of. And process now, because we have 7 levels that we work with. Apprentice preparer, going all the way up to grow into the ownership of your offices. Our franchise with these other people costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. A franchise from 30,000 to $500,000 is do not invest in business. And those of us who do that end up going out of business and not doing quite well. So the idea was to have you mentored and grow you to the success point rather than spending 100,000 or 200,000 getting into business. In less than 2,000, we grow you business giant. We've created in the last 20 years through our company. And we know the system works. So included in our system, like any franchise type operation, you have systems. That's what you buy. Support. Within our system, we have an educational component to the taxes and bookkeeping, of course. Have the self-development process dealing with a mindset in people, because you will not succeed mindset you have now. So we have a process for education and a mentorship toward the consciousness of it. Now I call myself a conscious, because an unconscious capitalist would do all kind of harm to anything just to make a dollar. Dollar is not first with us, people. So I'd like for you all to take a look at the 2 tiers that I'm going to share tomorrow. One is our network of people. You can receive a residual in helping us to recruit people into our system. Let's say, for example, that you get, say, 100 people through your network, and we build into about at least 25. It can be in the millions of production. Receive organization a 5% override or residual paid directly to your organization every year. 2 things: you're empowering yourself, because you can't do anything without money. Where we get this idea that, but see, anytime a country go to war, have enough money, they'll find a way to, even if they had to take over countries to get the money, fight, and win a war and be in poor. And you cannot be disillusioned with leadership. Those of us who follow and also lead, you make leaders. The followers can make the leader. Even if you have a weak leader, they may not know everything. So the main thing is, I would like to be able to share that idea tomorrow while I have a little bit more time, and how I can help other organizations become multimillionaires and at the same time solve our problem collectively.
Hey, Jackie, before we move on, quick question. If an organization or a group of people I go on the radio Monday and say, okay, I want to get 15 people together to cooperatively put their money together to purchase into your franchising. Can we do that as a collective group? And see, the thing about something like this, I'm gonna be quite honest with you, as you were sitting there talking, I was like, man, I probably can get you hundreds of thousands of people just coming to file a tax at your place. Just by going on air saying, we need to support this brother.
Yeah, well,
So
we have a system of that as well.
So can a group of collective people though, can they come together? Let's say if it's 15 people who want to buy in, but they don't have the capital all themselves. If they collectively came in, could you work with them?
For that.
Okay, all right. Give us the website too, right quick.
The website is, I'm gonna give you two. Oh, the website is comprotax.net. That's COMPROTAX.net. That's complete professional compro. And then the other one is my personal website is orange, like in the fruit,
Like
dot. Orange.comprotax.net. Videos on there you can watch. And I build systems, and I'm not inflexible. Thing work because numbers can fit any situation.
Well, Dr. Daniels, well, yeah, we're gonna go off script for just 1 second, Dr. D, so don't get mad at me. I want to bring.
Before we do that, can I just throw in one thing? Just Brother Jackie Mayfield is really humble here, and I just can't let that go. So this brother just said he has created 8 multimillionaires through a model duplicated on a foundation of a company that is created to empower Black people. So it's not just about creating multimillionaires, it's about how do we start that we need to empower ourselves, and how do we build businesses on an infrastructure of self-sustainability, community sustainability, and empowerment. And so this is a model that not only do we need to look at in terms of where we get our taxes done, but it's also a model of how do we create professionals, knowledge that they can bring back to community to create jobs in the community, to create all these different kinds of things. So Compro Tax is a complete model. It's not about the taxes. So so I just wanted to acknowledge that, because I don't think I couldn't let that go. So I apologize.
Thank you, Nataki. And it's hard to sell myself. I've always had that problem, but Nataki did a very good job. And George is the greatest salesman I know.
All right. We're gonna go off script just a little bit, Dr. D. I know we push for time, but this is very important, it's very necessary. So we're gonna bring George Fraser back up here for 1 minute. Well, go, George, you can speak from right there, I think.
Okay, so can you hear me? No. Sorry, can you hear me now? Yeah. I want everybody to repeat after me. Buy black. Buy black. Sell to anybody. Sell to anybody. Okay, write that down. Don't forget that. Buy black, sell to anybody. I'm going to quickly say this, and then I'm going to roll out of here to catch my flight, because it's Friday, it's rush hour time in New Jersey, and God knows what. But anyway, it is important that we move from a cooperative mindset to a collaborative mindset. Collaboration, 1 and 1 makes 11. We're at this passage in time in our life, we're into a collaborative. So in the spirit of collaboration, where's Dr. Ron Daniels? He's hiding somewhere.
He's in the back here hiding.
Dr. Daniels, will you stand up? In the spirit of collaboration, where 1 and 1 makes 11 and not 2, what I would like to do is to create a win-win-win. power. That means Dr. Daniels will win, internet will win, that we both serve will win. When you have a win-win-win, you have a deal. All right. So the Power Networking Conference, everybody has one of these flyers, right? Conference, we talk about money. That's all we talk about, money and business. It's a place where you need to be. In 4 days of the Power Networking Conference, and you will be a changed. Now, the conference is $995 and we sell it out 3 months in advance. We're already 80% sold out and it's not until July of next year. We do no advertising, no promotion. It's just conscious people around money and wealth and business. So there is a kindred spirit there. You, as many of you that can afford it, to be there with Dr. Daniels, who has attended the conference for as long as we've had the conference. Next year will be our 16th year.
Dallas was very good, by the way. Dallas was very good, by the way.
Now, so what I want to do is I want to give you a special. You were smart enough to be in this session. This is extended to only people in this session. When you leave this session, all right, so you have to take advantage of it by filling out the form on the back. I'm going to take $600 off. It's $399. And I'm going to allow you to bring a college-age student free of charge. So that means you get 2 people for $399. Because I've been black for 72 years, if you need a 2-month payment plan, I will allow you a 2-month payment plan. Now, of the $399, Dr. Daniels will go back to IBW. So if 10 people want to come, you get $1,000. If 20 people want to come, you get $2,000. If 50 people come, you get $5,000. This is a fundraiser for IBW. It is a way to encourage you to think outside of the box and make a commitment now. Don't call me on Monday. The deal is over. It's only for people in this room, so don't even tell anybody outside of the room. I'm not going to be here to collect the information. The information has to be filled out on the back. What I want you to do is fill out the information on the back, give it to Dr. Daniels. Give it to Dr. Daniels. He'll know that when you give him a registration, you're also giving him $100. Daniels will get those to me. He obviously knows how to get in touch with me. Get those to me by Monday. Process it, and you will be at the conference with Dr. Daniels, Dr. Mayfield, and a whole host. You see the people on I think Julianne Malveaux is here somewhere. There she is. A whole host of brothers and sisters who you know and love and respect. Finally, solution. We talk about this at the Power, a simple solution, and I think Reverend Dillon is going to touch on this, but this brother is a beast. I mean, he is phenomenal. Dennis Dillon, whew. In America, 24/7, somebody's buying something and somebody's selling something. Now, black people are doing all the buying and sell something. If you bake cookies, put them in a box, put your name on it, and sell it to somebody. If you live on a farm, take the manure, put it in a bag, put your name on it. You can become an entrepreneur. You can sell shit in America. You know that, right? By the ton, you can sell it. Sell something. Stop doing all the buying, and we will be a different people. God bless you. Thank you very much.
All right, now we're going to hear from Sister Nataki. Let's talk about Let's Buy Black 365.
All right. I'm So I'm talking a little bit later, so I'm just going to do a really quick introduction. But we just heard a lot of concepts today, and I really want to bring them all together. Heard about narrowing cultural focus from Dr. Fraser. We heard about the need for entrepreneurship. We heard about the need to have cooperatives where we're creating businesses from Sister Chinyere. We heard about what happens when you aggregate your dollars, approach businesses and entities with the vote of your collective dollars from Pastor Weaver. And we heard Dr. Mayfield, the importance of having models and systems where we can create for our people. And so the Let's Buy Black 365 movement, actually a movement that's designed to be an umbrella support for everything you heard today. What I'd like everybody to do right now is, if you still have some cell phone charge, I want you to go to letsbuyblack365.com/mobile on your phone. I don't know if anybody got the Let's Buy Black 365 flyers. They were probably in your bags. They were registration. But what this movement is, and what the app represents, is an economic container, where, because he or she who owns the economy, right? We have been sold a lie. We've been sold a lie that there are, now we do need more Black-owned businesses, but we've been sold the lie that there are not enough Black-owned businesses right now for us to patronize and to keep us sustained in some levels. But there was a brother, Ken Bridges. I actually met Dr. Mayfield through an organization called MATA. And there was a brother, Ken Bridges, who quoted over a decade ago that if all the Black people in America patronize the existing Black-owned businesses in America, we could wipe out unemployment immediately. Do you feel that?
That's right.
So we keep buying the lie that there's not enough, there's scarcity. But what the Let's Buy Black 365 movement is about recognizing that there are quality owned businesses, and that means small goods and services, but also multi-million dollar and multi-billion dollar Black-owned businesses, media, and institutions that have the capacity to help us sustain ourselves. Because I know it's a lie that that we can't do it, is because 98% of the companies that I patronize are Black-owned. Did you hear me? So that's everywhere from where I get my health and beauty products. It's my mechanic and my attorney and my business attorney and my name the service, clothing, shoes, name the business or service, and they are quality. Bathroom tissue comes from a Black-owned company. So raise your hand if you would patronize as many Black-owned businesses as you.
You know everybody gonna raise their hand.
I'm preaching to the choir at this conference.
Right.
But here's the other problem. We keep for someone else to give us a solution. We keep waiting for there to be this one Black leader that solves all of our problems from the sky, that comes down and tells us solution. But I'm here to tell you, I don't know what this brother was gonna say, but he is laughing right now. I'm here to tell you and I'm just the spokesperson of Let's Buy Black 365. I'm here to tell you that every single Black person in this room right now, member of the Let's Buy Black 365 movement, and you are a leader in the Let's Buy Black 365 movement, because raise your hand if you know a quality Black-owned business. There you go. Let's hear it in applause. Yeah, let's hear it in applause. Okay, so do you tell the people around you about it? Hold on. So this movement allows, and what the app does for Let's Buy Black 365, it is a crowdsourced business directory, because for too long, we keep waiting for someone to give us something. We keep waiting for someone to tell us. This movement is about, you are the solution for Black people. Say that with me, and we're gonna do it again later. I am the solution for Black people. You felt that. I need it one more time. I am the solution for Black people. Amen. We got it the first time. But the reality is that what the app allows you to do, it allows you, talked about the Black-owned banks. It allows you to identify the Black-owned banks. It allows you to identify all the services I talked about. It allows you, my office supplies, Alpha Office Supplies out of Philadelphia. All of these companies are there, and they're there because, not because I put them there, not that someone in Let's Buy Black put them there, it's because individuals like you said, here are all the Black-owned businesses, quality Black-owned businesses that I know, and I'm gonna put it in here and rate it. Other people know I got good quality. Other people know I got good service. Other people know it's here, so that we can be the solution and that we can drive forward the success of these companies that are creating jobs in our communities, that are committed to our people, and are reshaping the state of the Black world. But we'll talk more later. For now, go to letsbuyblack365.com/mobile and download the Android or iPhone phone. On the other side of this.
All right. All right, so we're pressed for time. So what I would like to do before we get out of here is, we've things here today, and it's been fantastic. I mean, give all the panelists a round of applause. I just want to say this. I think it's, I don't think it's a silver bullet for fixing anything. But I believe it's three things that if we look at, change what's going on in our community. This. President Obama is about to leave this White House in 60-something days. And we have not put any pressure on this president. He leaves office, this would be my suggestion. I don't know, maybe it's too much of a common sense suggestion, but this would be my suggestion. President Obama, all non-violent felons on a federal level to have their records be expunged, to allow them to get back into the workforce, to create opportunity. Now, he can do this through an executive order on the federal level. These nonviolent felons may have to pay a fine. Let's say hypothetically they make it $1,000. 90 million people in this country, violent felon in some form. If just 100,000 people apply for this, that is $100 million raised. Take that $100 million and guess what? Put it back into you. Put it back into the teachers. Put it back into the first responders. Put it back into small businesses. If you do this on a federal level, now you can make the argument on a state level. Tennessee is already doing this. Their state legislation actually passed this back in 2010 to jumpstart the economy, because now you got these brothers and sisters who want to work, who may have caught a case at 19, but now are 30 and have a family trying to take care of their kids who can't get a government job, who can't get a good paying job. It gives them an opportunity. That I think we need to be, our community is, You know, I'm gonna tell you something personal about me. I don't sleep. I sleep maybe 2 hours a night, maybe 3 sometimes on a good night. And if I sleep more than 5 hours, I actually get sick because I've been doing it for so long. But and I'm studying and looking at stuff, and I love the Nature Channel. And I was watching this show about geese. And after the show, I was like, damn, if black people just had geese sense.
Yes.
Amazing. Have you ever seen a flock of geese fly? It's one goose out in front, all these other geese in the formation, then there's one goose in the back that look like he drunk, he flying like this. Geese, individual goose, they can only travel 8 to 12 miles an hour. But when they flying in that flock like that, they fly 70 miles per hour. You know what else is amazing about them? You have that one goose out in front. It can take, and when it can't take anymore, what happens? It falls back, and another goose comes to the front, right? Goose in the back that look like he drunk, look like he been smoking or something all night. He's watching all other geese, and if one of them gets tired, it comes underneath the goose to keep the formation in line so they can keep traveling at 70 miles per hour. We had geese sense. Took turns being in front, being the leader. Imagine if we all came together and moved in one direction. And imagine if every time somebody looked like they was tired, it was somebody there to pick them up. I mean, if we just practice geese sense, what we'd be doing in this community right now. The third point that I would make is this. My grandmother used to say this to me all the time. I had humongous dreams. Growing up in the projects in Chicago, you know, it's nothing but drugs and gunshots around your head. That's where I come from. I used to have all these dreams, and my grandmother used to say, baby, plan ain't nothing but a wish. You might as well be talking to Santa Claus right now. If you have not planned out what you expect to happen, wishing. That's all you're doing. Where I'm from in Chicago, the top in three zip codes, they spent $180 million. Guess what they spent it on? Zip codes in Chicago. Guess what they spent $180 million on last year?
Sneakers.
The damn lottery. Because they had a wish. I'm gonna hit the lottery and it's gonna change everything. Imagine if they would have had geese sense to put that money together for that community.
Wow.
Y'all leave out of here, just have a little geese sense. It's about supporting each other. It's about loving each other. It's about believing in each other. And look, the truth of the matter is this. We can collectively come together. Who's getting rich? Because if you supporting the right person, they're gonna be pouring the money back in anyway. That's right. See, it's when you support these Negroes who only about them that it becomes a problem. For far too long, the government and the media has put the Negro in front of you. They want in front of you to make the money for them to keep you in a certain position. So we have to understand that right now, we at a crossroad, man. With this Donald Trump coming in, everybody thinks, well, this is gonna wake Negroes up. I think just the opposite. I'll tell you why I think just the opposite. Because 8 months ago, I told people that this man was polling at 20% with black men in America, based on my research. I told people he was polling with 30% with Latinos. When the vote came out, 13% of all African-American men voted for him, 30% of Latinos voted for him. Let me tell you why everybody in this room should be deadly afraid of that. Because what's happening is this. All these urban communities, all these brothers and sisters with felonies, all these people who are young, who feel disenfranchised, if this man creates a 1% growth in any way, those same Negroes gonna go vote for these Republicans again. because they're going to believe they gave them something. And what's sad about it is this infrastructure bill that they're about to pass, this jobs legislation they're about to pass, were all put on the floor in 2010 from the Democrats under Obama, and Trump is going to get the victory for it, and it's going to create 1.8 million jobs, and Negroes going to think this man created jobs for them, and they're going to go vote for him. And so it's up for the conscious community to talk about this, to highlight this. And if you don't believe me, and then I'm gonna turn over the mic, all you gotta do is look on Twitter. Donald Trump is taking credit for Ford Motor Company not shipping their plant to Mexico. Ford never was gonna do that. They never was gonna do that. And he's taking credit for it right now. If you don't believe me, go to Twitter. This is about perception and reality. The perception is he's gonna look like he's doing something. The reality is he ain't did a damn thing but sold you some fortune cookies and told you he gonna give you some money. So I hope we can get to some decence. I'm sorry, y'all. Let's go back to Nataki. We're going back to you because we're not gonna do the questions and answers because we're close for time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you want to go right to Reverend Dillon? All right, we're gonna go right to Reverend Dillon then. All right.
All right, come on, let's put our hands together for Warren Ballantyne. Awesome job.
That's why I was like, you sure?
And what an awesome panel. Let's put our hands together for this awesome panel. I'm motivated. I'm excited and energized about as a race and some of the things that we need to move to do. Let me just say one of the things that I believe we all on this panel agree on. I think it is our strong belief that the most important and critical and focus for Black freedom and liberation in America and across the globe is economics. They're not in any way suggesting that all the other areas don't have a role and they're not important, but we believe that economics ought to be at the very core and foundation of the things we do. So by way of summation, let me kind of shape this in a building or a house, if you please. And allow me as a preacher and a minister of the gospel to kind of go to the scripture and use Nehemiah as an example. Nehemiah, who was an affluent leader who lived someplace other than Jerusalem, as it were, decided that he was going to go back and help in Jerusalem. I need you to understand that the walls were broken down in Jerusalem, the gates, the doors were burnt, but there were brand new churches in the city of Jerusalem, and they said that Jerusalem was in ruins. It establishes the fact that it doesn't matter how well the churches and the mosque are doing in a particular community or a particular city. Doesn't matter how well the NAACP seem to be doing, or the Urban League, or any of the other established organization. If the economic infrastructure, which represents the wall, is not in place, then that city is bound to fail. I would that we understand as a race of people that it doesn't matter how well things may appear around us. It doesn't matter how prosperous our churches and some of our entities and organizations might be. If we don't have economic power, then we are a powerless people and at the will, wishes, and guidance and leadership of somebody else. So what is it that we must do? We got to come back in and we got to rebuild the walls, which represents the economic infrastructure. And then we can put up the gates, which represents the political power. What we've done wrong as a race of people is to seek to have political power without having economic foundation. And in the absence of economics, by the way, because politics is but the protection of economics, and he who has no economics to protect is powerless despite its politics. So if we want to create a socially stable society, if we want to solve the problems of drugs and violence, if we want to change the circumstances of education or miseducation, it simply means that we're going to have to invest resources and time in building a strong economic infrastructure. The economics is the wall, the politics is the gates, the social stability is the roof, and the foundation is spiritual. So that being said, I think we've talked about that. Let me just highlight some of the critical points. And I want to just make some examples just as we talk about one of the points that was shared by almost all the panelists is collective power and how we leverage. Come on, let's put our hands together for the panel for sharing that. How do we leverage? How do we harness all of our energies and do some stuff? Years ago, let me give us a couple of quick examples. Years ago, I organized a group of ministers and business leaders, and we gathered at a particular location in downtown Brooklyn, concerned about the unfair treatment of our community by some of the major department stores. And so about 120 of us clergy and business leaders, many of you in this room may have been there, and we decided that we're going to pay a visit, an unannounced visit, to the president of back then ANS, now Macy's. We journeyed all the way up to the 8th floor where we knew the president resided, and that's where his office was. And as we got up there, we knocked on the door and we were told that he was not there. I made a quick phone call and summoned all the others to join us, and 120 of us headed up the escalators, and we were outside the door on Fulton Street and up escalator to the 1st floor, and escalator was crowded on the 2nd floor, all the way up to the 8th floor, when he realized that there was 120 black people that were sitting outside his door, not prepared to leave until we talked to him. In less than 5 minutes, the president for ANS showed up, simply making the point to us that if we're really going to bring about serious changes, we got to go back to that kind of Adam Clayton Powell activism. We're going to have to go back to some new stuff to bring about changes. Well, let me tell you what the end result was in the interest of time. The end result is ANS agreed that they would meet with us. They met with us. We would not meet on their turf, so they met in our conference room, and a host of us sat at the table, and at the end of the day, we walked out of there, and let me tell you what happened. Macy's decided that they were going to advertise in 10 black-owned newspapers in the New York area. They decided that we should identify black designers, bring them to them, and they would put black designers on their shelves. We've seen since then more than 30 black designers that we got on the shelves of Macy's. If you remember the Blackberry bookstore inside Macy's, that was done as a result of that initiative. And to this very day, Macy's do more advertising with the black press than probably any other major corporation in these United States. I'm simply trying to help us to understand that in this era, folks, you got to leverage. We got to know where our power is, and we're going to have to use it. And while I'm not disagreeing with the importance of all the other marches, we got to start focusing on where it hurts corporate and government America, and that's in the pocket and the pocketbooks. We were concerned about what we're not doing. And we knew back then that the way to really tackle the issue with these major banking institutions was whenever there was about to be a merger, we would organize against those mergers, because in order for these banks to merge, there are some federal regulations. And so we begin to organize when Chemical and Chase decided to merge. and we wanted to see their Humna data. And so, one day I called for the Humna data, expecting Dr. Ron Daniels a couple of books to show up, and a truck showed up in front of our building, and they began to unload. We had an entire room to house the book on the Humna data for these two banking institutions. At the end of the day, we organized. We went over to Park Avenue, and hundreds of us began and stood outside, and we said, "You're not making loans to us." By the way, can I tell you quickly, in the interest of time, that black people in New York, New Jersey deposit well over $153 billion every year in the 7 largest banks in this marketplace alone. Let me add to that. If you combine the 27 black-owned banks across these United States of America, their total asset base is less than $7.2 billion. Billion, not trillion, but $billion. So here goes a race of people that at the end of the day in New York alone, we are responsible for $153 billion in deposit power, and all across these United States of America, if you combine the asset of all of these black banks, it does not amount to 7.5. One bank in Asia, East West Bank, 20 years in the New York market, and 4 years ago, as the Christian Times was getting ready to go to press with our State of the Black Race, the Economic State of Black New York report, we noticed that the bank that gave the most loans to black businesses through SBA in New York was East West Bank. Didn't hear about the bank before, had no idea who they were. Did some research and discovered that this is a Chinese-owned bank located in Flushing and Chinatown, New York. They did more loan to black-owned business than, watch this, than Chase Bank. That year, black people deposited some $28 billion in. That year, black people deposited $24 billion in Citibank. That year, black people deposited some $21 billion in Bank of America, and the list goes on. I don't want to bore us with all of this, and unfortunately I don't have enough. These are just a couple pages of the report that I pulled, and my assistant, I don't know how he's going to manage the distribution of these few reports to this many people, but I want to make sure the panels get one. And good to see Curtis Farrell. Let's put our hands together for Curtis Farrell, one of the leading black-owned advertising agencies, managed McDonald's Corporation, produced Ain't Misbehaving, and a host of others. But let me end on this. Let me end by simply making the point that we got to look at the power that's in our hand. We got to understand that our real liberation, please folks, hear us. Liberation is about economics. It's about black people in America begin to better manage the 1.39 that we represent in these United States of America. I shared in the report what that translates to. $1.3 trillion mean that if you combine the 50 smallest states in the United States, from the state of Vermont to the state of Nevada, their buying power is only $1.2 trillion. Black people's buying power is $200 more than the buying power of these 20 smallest states in the United States. The buying power of California is $1.5 trillion. So the buying power of black people in America is only $100 billion less than the buying power of the entire state of California, the largest states in these United States of America. The part that's in our hands. I charge and I challenge us as we get ready for tomorrow. And I would that everybody make your way into these sessions. Let's begin to look at solutions. Let's begin to look at the steps that we need to take. And let's liberate ourselves from what I call the Hillary Clinton syndrome. Can I just end on the Hillary Clinton syndrome? Let me just end on this point real quick. The perception that because of whatever our issues are with Carver Bank, we're not going to put our money there. That's the Hillary Clinton syndrome. Always coming up with a reason why we can't. And when we look at the options that we have, very clearly our best option is the little Carver that we have, regardless of what the questions are. Every black people in this place should leave this room today with a commitment and a passion. We're going to move our monies from these other banking institutions and put them in the banks that better serve our interests. Rise above the bickering and the little issues and challenges that we have, and know that there's a whole lot more at stake than just dealing with these other little issues. It is time for us to rise above those challenges, rise above those issues, and begin to find reasons why we must.
Reverend Dennis Dillon, let's give it up. Reverend Dennis Dillon. Let's give it up. Let's give it up for this entire panel. Give it up. It's nation time. 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 All right, black people, we're going to rise up. We're going to do what we have to do. And gooder. All right? And so here's what we need to do with some discipline. Hear me out now. Because we want to get a photo op with this panel. It's about the black family, sustaining. We have an incredible panel waiting to do that. Now we're a little bit behind time. We need to stretch, flex a little bit, take some other essential duties and that kind of thing. I want you to do that and be back here in 20 minutes, okay? In 20 minutes, back, so that we can continue and stay reasonably on schedule. Will you do that? Can we have that kind of revolutionary discipline? We're going to do that, right? Because we are bad black people. All right, give the panel another round of applause. Warren Ballantyne, another round of applause. And let's get the photo op. Let's get the photo op with this panel.